I'm Kevin, not from behind the microphone.
from England somewhere.
I'm from, Birmingham, England.
And the panel is called Name That D&D Name That Character's D&D Class. So this actually was my sort of idea because last year I didn't make it to the con. I had a flood. But we had started a thread in the Facebook chat. I think it was Scott from Davos Fingers was like, hey, anybody interested in a D&D game? And so it really got a lot of attention, and apparently it went really well last year. Yeah. And there has been sort of like a group chat that has been made for people playing D&D who also attend X and FireCon, so we thought, I'll throw it in there and see if anybody bites on the whole panel idea, and it took, so here we are. I have only been playing D&D for a year and a half, 2 years. I started with Pathfinder, so I'm a little familiar with Pathfinder, but everybody else seems to be more familiar with 5e, so we're going with 5e as far as what we're going to do with the class comparisons.
I think what we can do as well, if you are familiar, John, with the other versions of these things, then we can certainly have this discussion as well and get feedback on this also. So I think we can be quite open with it as well. So we'll concentrate on 5e. See, I'm not like that. But we can certainly open it up to you guys if you've got other ideas also on what you might think about it also. So yeah, again, I created a group, a messenger group, just after Scott had said, well, are we going to get together and play this year at the con? So I created a group for anybody who wanted to play some D&D. I probably ran 2 months worth of games, maybe 3 months worth of games.
It's very busy in that channel.
It is very busy, not always D&D. So like that was my first time DMing also, which I enjoyed. I had some fun games, tried to make some intense encounters and some intense games and some interesting games out there as well, try and change things up. And it's gone pretty well. Hopefully I'll get back into it soon, once I know my time has opened up a little bit more.
So for people who don't know about Dungeons and Dragons, because I know we have one or two in here, Dungeons and Dragons is a role-playing game that originally started out, there's basically, it's really, what do you call it, a theater of the mind, and it's, you have dice, and that's really and maybe a pencil and pen, and that's the major prerequisite for it. You have preordained rules about it that are kind of systematic and mathematic, and you sort of create this character, and if you have a good dungeon master, they create a very immersive world in which you interact with. And it could be, combat and battles, or it could be just political or social interactions. And there's a vast array of different situations that you can be put in, and you just have to react and have humor and wit and cunning and knowledge and all of these things, and that sort of builds it all up. So it's very fun.
And geeky.
And geeky. Yeah.
But yeah, the idea is to build a world, an environment for you to act out and role play what you want to act out and role play. If you want to be Santa Clegane and fuck everyone, fuck the king, then
there you go.
Help yourself.
Yep.
There are consequences to that, obviously, or there should be. Or if you want to be a Tyrion Lannister and fuck everyone, or all the whores, then feel free. Again, I'm sure there'll be consequences if you fail your constitution check. Yeah, and so the idea, I believe, is we're going to go through the character classes of D&D 5e, and we're going to put our opinions on what characters within the series fit into these character classes. And again, we can always get some feedback from you guys, what you think of this, if you've got any different ideas as well. And we can go from there.
Yeah, we're not all knowing, So we absolutely will welcome other people's opinions on who would fit. There's really two things that actually Kevin brought up when we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, getting ready for this. And he said, really, if you look at the classes, you've got a culture and you've got mechanics. So we'll start with the barbarians as a class. And you've kind of got like a barbarian culture, but you also have the barbarian mechanics. And he made a really good point. You want to
Yeah, so barbarians are basically, they were seen as people that were beyond civilization. So the Romans sort of coined the phrase, meaning those that lived beyond the borders of Rome. So they were looking at the German cultures, the Germanic cultures, and those beyond Hadrian's Wall. Because they weren't civilized in the Roman sense, then they were barbarians. And even though the class structure of D&D barbarians don't reflect this, as it's not a social status as such, the mechanics aren't. There are these two sides of the coin when it comes to some of these classes. So again, if we look at the barbarian culture of Ice and Fire, the Song of Ice and Fire, there's got some classic ones that we've got out there. We have, for instance, the Wildings. You know, very, very classical barbarian. They live beyond the wall. They live beyond civilized world, and so they are seen as Wildings. They are seen as barbarians to the civilized people of Westeros. So the Wilding culture itself are very barbarian-esque. Although mechanically, we looked at it, and the Wildings themselves don't show too many barbarian mechanics themselves, and so we found that quite interesting. What was the other one?
the Dothraki. The Dothraki, they don't wear armor, really, and culturally they are barbaric, really, in the way that, you know, they conquer and slay and all that kind of stuff. However, because they're more cavalry based, they don't really fit the mechanics necessarily completely. So there's really no one culture or specific ice and fire group that fits perfectly in any archetype. They all sort of like just kind of share. So that's kind of what we're going to be going through, is like some of the similarities in each one. Hi, old man.
Can anybody think of any other culturally mechanical barbarian? Dothraki, Wildings.
I think like the gladiators and like strong Belwas is kind of.
We have him.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought Strong Belwas up, because when we talk about the mechanics, then he's one that I would say fits mechanically the best out of all of them. So, what?
Mountain clans of the area.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Yes.
Mountain clans
They're very culturally.
outside of civilization. So, what are the mechanics of the barbarians?
Okay, well, we'll use the Strong Belwas one specifically. We thought that he would fit into the subclass of a berserker in the barbarian, and I'll just go ahead and read what the 5e archetype for that is. It says, for some barbarians, rage is a means to an end, that end being violence. The path of the berserker is a path of untrammeled fury, slick with blood. As you enter the berserker's rage, you thrill in the chaos of battle, heedless of your own health or well-being. Some of their mechanics, and these are features, include being at 6th level, you can't be charmed or frightened while raging. Intimidating presence, beginning at level 10. You can use your action to frighten someone with your menacing presence. When you do so, you choose one creature that you can see within 50 feet of you. If the creature can see or hear you, it must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be frightened of you until your next turn. They also have retaliation. Oh, this is a good one. When you take damage from a creature that is within 5 feet of you, you can use your reaction to make a melee weapon attack against that creature. So Strong Belwas was one that he would take a hit, and that would kind of fuel his rage and make him fight even stronger. So that's why we sort of put him into this berserker category.
Exactly. So the mechanics of the barbarian in general: unarmored defense, strong Belwas. When raging, you take resistance to piercing, bludgeoning, slashing damage. Again, strong Belwas allows the opposition to hit him first, and then, like Trina's just said, once he gets hit, he then takes that reaction to then hit back harder. Even though he's not exactly raging, you don't see him like frothing at the mouth. The idea of taking that resistance damage is very much part of that, definitely.
So let's see, we're doing this alphabetically. So the next one.
Well, I was just going to say, like, can we think of any other characters that would fit the barbarian mold?
Jon Snow. My boy.
Ramsey.
Ramsey?
He's definitely barbarian.
Character culturally.
Yeah, I think the
Culturally.
way that he acts is very barbaric
Yes.
at times.
Yes.
Yeah, any other
Torment, maybe?
Torment?
Tormund, the wildlings. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I think in the show you see him kind of screaming out loudly, "Rah," battle cry sort of thing. That's very
Shagga.
Shagga,
Shagga
yeah,
from the Mountain
Shagga
Plains.
Dolph.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, they're very, and again with the berserker, it's also the reckless attack also comes into thing where they ignore trying to defend or being able to defend.
Very offensive.
Yeah, but they put everything into attack. So yeah, very much so. And that is our barbarian. Everyone.
That's our barbarians. So the bards, if you're not familiar with the term bard, they're like the performer, singer. There's many bards in A Song of Ice and Fire, and they're always singing and performing and stuff, which is basically what a bard is also in Dungeons & Dragons. Specifically in 5e, there's a bunch of different colleges that they're subclasses. They call them the colleges that the bards would go to and or study from. And we had a couple of different people that fit pretty well within some of these colleges.
Yeah. So again, the bard is about performance. I mean, it's easy for us to look straight at people like Marillion or the Blue Bard, because it's basically there in the title of what they are. And these are those that sing, dance, perform. But orating is also as big a performance as anything else. People who are good at charming, who are good at persuasion, potentially intimidation, very charismatic, and that's what the bard focuses on mechanically in 5e. It's having a high charisma and being able to use that charisma to influence others, both in social situations, when interacting with other people, but also in combat as well. They have something called inspiration die, where they can give their inspiration die to other characters within the party to help them perform better. And so some of the examples that we've got, and I think we've got quite a few, that can fit within that bard class.
Tyrion Lannister.
Yes.
He would be a glamour
Or
valor.
He kind of fits in a bunch of different colleges because he's clearly persuasive. Like he rolls high on all of his persuasion checks. Not really intimidation checks. Insight maybe. He's got high insight.
I'd say he intimidates one of the Kingsguard pretty well when he comes in to save Sansa. And he says something like, "That's not a threat, that's a promise," or "That's a threat."
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yes.
So,
yes.
yeah, I think he does pretty well there indeed.
Yes.
And I think throwing his kind of name around is also a pretty good intimidation check.
I think he uses cutting words really well.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that the bard has is something called cutting word or dissonant whisper, where they can impose disadvantage or even pain on people just by using their words to insult someone. So I think that fits Tyrion very well.
Yes. But at the same time, his inspiration, like when he's just the half man at the Battle of Blackwater, he inspired people by giving them the speech of yeah, they want to come in and take our city. Well, let's go kill them. Like, so he's got that ability to do an inspiration in battle as well.
He also wanted to be a performer. Like he wanted to learn how to do
Yes.
somersaults
Yeah.
and stuff.
He
Yes.
wanted to be. He was trying to be a
And
model.
he kind of did with Penny,
Yeah.
you know, on the ship and stuff.
Old Nan is right.
Yeah.
Mance Raider is the obvious bard, and
Oh,
I'm basing that based on first edition more than the others.
No.
Because first edition, the bards were, while they had certain bard skills of music, so they could persuade people, but they also had thief skills, which in Mance Raider is a case of infiltrating people, and then also heavy fighter skills. So I'm just thinking of the first edition bard. It was clearly Mance Raider would be the bard.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, he infiltrates Winterfell.
Right, Winterfell, right.
Right. And so.
And also uses music, so
And
when he was
bards do have something called Jack of all trades, which
They do.
allows them to add half of their proficiency bonus to any skill.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah. So
makes them pretty handy to have around.
yeah, exactly. And the College of Swords or the College of Valor get that extra attack, which allows them to be that martial character also. So yeah, I think Mance Raider is a great choice.
I do think it's really weird that there's like almost no POVs that are musicians. Like in the book, I think the only mention I've found, I think Sansa plays the harp, but it's mostly just Arya talking about how she's so much better at playing the harp than me. But other than that, there's almost even in the Song of Ice and Fire, like none of the POVs are musicians.
Yeah, I mean, if we go in show,
POV.
if we go in
Oh.
show version now, we've got Pod. He's
Yeah.
a pretty good
Yeah.
bard.
I guess now,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
And Thrawn.
And Bran, yeah, they both sing, don't they?
In real life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was saying in
He sang
the bar.
yeah,
That song.
before
yeah.
Blackwater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has
Ed Sheeran.
Okay. Well, all right. So we also have some villainous, well, in my opinion, villainous bards. There's a thing called the College of Whispers, and that I'm going to read this to you, and you guys make your own judgments. Most folk are happy to welcome a bard into their midst. Bards of the College of Whispers use this to their advantage. They appear to be like other bards, sharing news, singing songs, and telling tales to the audience they gather. In truth, the College of Whispers teaches its students they are wolves among sheep. These bards use their knowledge of magic to uncover secrets and turn them against others through extortion and threats. When many other bards hate the College of Whispers, viewing it as a parasite that that uses the bard's reputation to acquire power and wealth. For this reason, members of this college rarely reveal their true nature. They typically claim to follow some other college, or they keep their actual calling secret in order to infiltrate and exploit royal courts and other settings of power. When you join the College of Whispers at level 3, you gain the ability to make your weapon attacks magically toxic to a creature's mind. At Words of Terror. At level 3, you learn to infuse innocent-seeming words with an insidious magic that can inspire terror. If you speak to a humanoid for at least 1 minute, you can attempt to seed paranoia in its mind. At the end of the conversation, they must succeed on a wisdom saving throw. Anyway, who does that sound like? Who?
Yeah. Well, it was a case of originally I thought Varys, just because of the spending time with someone, sowing that paranoia, but a lot of the other stuff actually does sound more like Littlefinger.
Yeah.
You know, being that wolf in sheep's clothing,
Mhm.
although if the melee attack causes poison damage or something like that,
Mhm.
well, if you actually hit Brandon, then that might have actually worked. But
Oh,
you
right.
never got to
Well, I
hit
mean, he
him.
did poison Elton.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
I mean, he was part of that whole
Yeah.
poison thing, and he also poisoned John Arryn. So
Just the whole infiltrating and then usurping power. And
yes, seeding as sowing seeds
getting
of paranoia
things,
in
yeah,
people's
that's what-
minds. I just thought that was very, very, very fitting for him. And we did find Varys another place.
Yeah.
We did. We'll get to that.
And I think the very first thing you mentioned there, in regards to being welcomed in.
Mhm.
If you look at Littlefinger throughout the whole of it, he's welcomed everywhere. He's welcomed
Right.
at Riverrun. He's then welcomed at Gulltown. He's then welcomed into the capital. You know, he's welcomed into the Tyrell court. He's then welcomed back into the Lannisters.
Welcome at the wall.
Yeah, he's just allowed, people allow him to bring in.
Yeah.
And if we're saying that Tyrion is a bard
Yeah.
also, and that other bards do not like this court, well, Tyrion's the first one to kind of catch on to
Right.
to Littlefinger's plans, and
Mhm.
are obviously catch on straight away and like, don't want Littlefinger, he's causing a problem, we've got to watch out for him.
Sure.
Yeah.
You want to talk about any more? Or you want to move on?
Melisandre?
Yeah, go on, old man.
Melisandre be another one?
A bard?
In a play? What is a prophet?
She gets, because of her magical powers, she'll fall into something a little bit later that will
And
hopefully.
this is-
She's an illusionist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Dungeons.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons
yes.
and
I've
Dragons.
never played
The bards are very charisma based. So, is Melisandre
Yes.
charismatic? Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Is she good at putting up a performance
Yes.
of some
Yes.
sort? Yes, she
Yeah.
is. Okay. So, you know, is she inspiring?
No.
Well, she was to Stannis.
She inspires Stannis.
Yeah.
Especially when she took her robes off.
Oh my god.
That will
She
inspire a lot
kind
of
of
people.
fall into that category of cleric because technically she's a priestess.
Yes.
Well, she doesn't-
So
Yeah, if we don't pick Melisandre as a warlock, I believe Anne's going to attack us. So,
I would say she was an
that was
illusionist.
mostly, no, I mean, she's extremely
Yes.
inspiring. She started by
Because
inspiring
even her
Celis way
appearance is
before
Right.
Yeah.
Stannis and
Yes.
all of her big charm
Mhm.
and all of the foreign parts.
Yeah.
So it's not just with her.
yeah.
mhm.
No. It's,
Women.
that's also something that we wanted to do. We wanted to incite a discussion if there's any sort of
I think I'm in place.
any variations that you guys
I
would
thought
like
it
to
was
come up
David
with or
Dave.
would like to argue about as well. Certainly not black and white with most of these. I think there was only probably one character
I think
that
I'm
literally
excused
was
myself.
black and white sort of thing.
For-
Literally black and white.
Yeah.
House of black and white.
Yeah. No, there is. No. There's another one. It's
Oh, is
this
that?
one.
Oh, was that? Yeah. Yeah. So shall we?
Moving on to clerics. So we're doing it alphabetically. So, barbarian, bard, cleric. Clerics were kind of hard and kind of easy at the same time because there's a bunch of sub-classes that we couldn't find people to fit into. And we got like the forge, there's smiths, and I was like, well, what kind of, who's a cleric? Is that sort of like pre-qualifying them as a priest, or they are definitely a worshiper of someone, and then they also fall in that sort of smith category, like a blacksmith of some kind. I kind
the
we
guy that reforged the Valyrian steel swords.
Tobelmont?
Tobelmont. Well, yes, he falls into the smith category, but we were.
But he's also limited because they say Valyrian steel has magic, right?
Right.
And he's one of the few people that can still reforge a Valyrian steel weapon, so that would make him a smith of more skill than your average smith.
Absolutely.
And clerics are seen often with hammers. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the obvious cleric is Thoros.
Oh yeah.
Because he can heal. I mean, except for the fact he uses a sword instead of a blunt-edged weapon, but
Right.
which is a character class limitation in D&D.
Yeah.
But you know, he heals. He has some fighting skills. He's a priest. I mean, that's the obvious.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Tempest.
Oh yeah. There's the Tempest.
No, I mean, sorry. There's one of the deities is Tempest.
Oh.
And I think that's a flaming sword. So.
Right.
Yeah.
That may be later. Again, first edition, they could never use a sword.
Yeah. They can't cause blood or something like that.
Exactly. They can just bash you over the head with a hammer.
Break your knee, but. Yeah.
Or a mace.
There's a specific cleric subclass called Order,
Yeah.
and it's very lawful, very well, it's the word order. So the High Septon and the Faith of the Seven, or maybe even the Faith Militants, could sort of fall into that. It's kind of like the Catholic religion in that it's very structured. Yes, very orderly. We have everything written down and rules and so that we thought that sort of group fits into the order clerics. And let's see.
Can anybody think of any more clerics?
I wonder if old man would be like a knowledge cleric, maybe?
Yeah.
I actually had the Maesters of the Citadel. I know that they would be more wizardy because of their book knowledge, but I had them in the knowledge clerics for the sort of, they keep all of the records of everything, and they do healing, kind of,
Yeah.
sort of.
Well, the
So-
Maesters are the healers
Yeah.
of Westeros.
Right. But they're all the knowledge healers, really.
Yeah.
Because they have all the book stuff. One that I thought was really fun, the Tempest one.
Yeah.
And that was, the Tempest clerics are sort of associated with storms and seafaring people and sailors.
Yeah.
And so Aaron Dampere, or
Yeah.
Greyjoy.
Aaron
Dampere.
Greyjoy, the Damper.
Yeah, he kind of fit into that. He was very, well, that particular one, it doesn't have all the same characteristics, but when we were going through reading some of these, I was like, oh, okay, this guy kind of fits in that one, and this one fits in that one, and,
Running around serially baptizing everyone.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
Serially baptizing everyone.
I don't know if Septon Maribald with the Broken Man speech, like if you'd be a cleric or a bard, because it's pretty inspirational speech.
It is pretty
Maybe
inspirational.
multi-class.
He's multi-class for sure. Yes. We have a couple of people in mind for like
Yeah.
super multi-classing.
Yeah.
We can maybe save that for the end.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good one.
Alright.
Druids?
Okay, druids. So,
Druids are obviously rather self-explanatory, really.
Mhm.
They're very nature-based.
Mhm.
And I think it lends itself to the northern people more than anything else.
Right.
The most obvious one is obviously going to be
Yeah.
Children, forest, and brand.
Right.
Under dreams.
Yeah.
Like my boss would say, dream creeper.
They're kind of
Green.
wild shaping too when you go in the woods and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's our idea as well. The walking and wild shaping
Mhm.
can be pretty
Yeah.
just flipped either side there.
Yep.
So yeah, the idea of is it the circle of dreams or the
Circle of Dreams was the one where they kind of can see things, so that's where Bran fits in. And
Yeah.
then the Circle of Land was the very nature-based, and they actually say in the archetypal description that they have like spirals of stone around trees. Come on. So we were like, oh, we gotta pick
Yeah,
that one.
if the children of the forest aren't fey creatures, then
Right. Yeah.
what are we?
Right.
To be fair, so yeah, we thought that fit very well. I mean, you could even go with like a Varamir Six Skins again, with how much he gets to warg. I think the example that you gave, Trin, was by day he runs through the forest as a wolf, and then at night he flies above the trees
Mhm.
as an eagle, and then he chases off something as a beaver.
Yeah.
What's right?
That's like the moon,
Angry beaver.
the circle of the moon
Yeah.
druids. Yeah, fit into that. So.
Yeah. So again, druids. Any other ideas
Anybody else think of a druid?
with druids? No. Get into the most important class, eh?
Fighters.
It's the only one that counts.
Right. There's a lot of fighter subclasses. You've got arcane archers, which are just really like more archer based, and I had said, so we talked about the Dothraki boys learn to, shoot from the horseback at a very young age. Angai from the Brotherhood Without Banners was a fantastic archer. Theon is supposed to be a really good archer, so those are some of the people that we thought. You guys have any other archer people I'm leaving out?
It's the Summer Islander squad from the Gold
Yeah.
Company.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, fight.
Sean was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, yeah.
Arya now?
Yeah.
Arya was even as a child. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fighters are described as like the multi-tool,
Yeah.
like martial character. They're trained in all weapons, all armor. They can either be strength based or they can be dexterity based. They have surges of adrenaline that helps them to continue fighting continuously, if that's through action surge or second wind. So that's basically what the fighter is. Very simple, very trained, very martial. So there's plenty of characters that fit into this. It's just trying to think, is that the best place for them? So you could pretty much choose any martial character out there and say, oh well, that third person fits as a fighter, but we'd rather fit them in somewhere else if it maybe fits them thematically better. So the archers, like we've just said, what are the ones that we've got to choose from?
Battlemaster.
Battlemaster.
Tywin Lannister.
He was kind of a tactician.
And Robb Stark.
Well, he did beat
Beat Tywin Lannister.
John's a Stark lover. He
Yeah.
was such a fierce Stark defender.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, probably my favourite class, to be honest, fighter, Battlemaster. I can't help it. But it's a case of the Battlemaster can be any sort of martial character. Like John's just pointed out, you can be the tactician. The Battlemaster has all these different manoeuvres. You've got Rally to give temporary hit points. You have Commander Strike to allow somebody to hit instead of you. You've got Manoeuvring Strike, which allows people to move once you've hit and not take opportunity of attack. So you've got the commanders of the battlefield, but also you've got those that are the fighters who use their martial abilities, their trained martial abilities, to help themselves out. Some of the examples that we've discussed are people like Bronn against Servadis. He hamstrings him, knocks the sword from his hand, and then pushes him through the wound door. If that's not trip attack, disarm attack, and then pushing attack,
Yeah.
then what else? Then you see Cyril Farrell. You've got defensive duelist as a feat, as then you've got dueling also as a feat, using these dexterity-based weapons. But when he's fighting the Lannisters, he disarms someone, and he probably trips someone, he hits people in the nose with precision attack. So the Battlemaster can be lots of different people, and you know that's why I enjoy playing Battlemasters a lot, because you can play as lots of different players together. So the Battlemaster, what are our other archetypes we've got to choose from?
I like the Cavalier, and the best example of Cavalier. So Cavalier is horseback, like probably more like a jouster. They get it's unwavering, or I'm sorry, born to the saddle, so they can fall off and not take damage if they get knocked off their horse. Loras Tyrell seems like a good fit for this particular one, with the honorable mention of Little Tommen. And we've got champions. That's I was thinking young Robert Baratheon. So the champions are very much a strength-based, go out and hit it as hard as you can sort of character or archetype. And so the young Robert Baratheon would be a good one, because he's generally suited up, and even though he had a hammer, but I still feel like you can do that.
Fighters can
Yeah.
fighters can use any weapon. Again, they get like remarkable athletes, so it's about being that superior athlete.
Yes.
And Robert was definitely a superior athlete
Yes, he
when he was
was.
younger. And then it's about that improved critical hits.
Right.
So critical hitting on 19 instead of just 20, so 19 and 20, and then later on 18, 19 and 20. You know, critical hitting's pretty deadly in 5e sort of thing. So again, I think that's very much Robert. You think Robert's against Rhaegar in the Trident, he definitely scored a critical hit on that.
Yes, he did, definitely. Can you guys think of anybody else that might be a champion?
Khal Drogo fits in.
If you don't want to have that be a barbarian.
Well, but that's the thing, like we said, we can fit them into lots of different categories.
They
Seems like
can
he's more
fall into
civilized in the
multiple
books.
categories.
Yeah.
Khal Drogo, in a way. Has ants
Wait,
and stuff.
what did you guys just say?
Someone put the mountain.
Here?
He's brute.
The mountain
Yeah.
definitely
Brute.
fits
Yeah.
into that. 'cause
Ferris and
he-
Selmy.
Yeah.
There,
Alright,
yes.
Two-handed Jamie Lannister. Two-handed Jamie
Yeah.
Lannister.
Yeah.
Like again, any martial character can fit the fighter archetype basically. All the Waldings, Dariana Harris, yeah, Jorah Mormont,
Mormont.
all the Unsullied. But even though we've got some other ideas for the Unsullied, but
Yeah.
all the Unsullied. Again, you look at Oberyn's fight against the Mountain. He hamstrings him, he trips him, disarms him, and then uses precision attacks to hit certain parts of his body.
Mhm.
You know, fighters are all over the place.
Mhm. Let's see.
Oh, we got monk.
Monk. Yeah. So monks are more. They can use weapons, but they have a lot of proficiency when they're not like kicking, punching, sort of ninja, really, if you will. Or you could think of that. And they don't do any heavy armor
No.
at all. They're like more robes and stuff. I mean, if you really think about like just like a ninja is close to what a
It was
monk would
it was
be.
pretty difficult, wasn't it, finding some monks
It
or an
was.
example of monks.
Yeah.
So again,
Faceless men.
faceless men. So
Yeah.
we spoke about faceless men because of the spiritual side of it and
Mhm.
how they almost have a religious side of them, and the faceless men are very much that spiritual, serving a spiritual like
Right.
idea. The other one was the Unsullied. Again, maybe not so much spiritual, but that disciplined body of training
Yes.
that they have to go through, which is very much what the monk has as a feature. I don't know if anybody else. Did anybody else think of any more?
Harrison might have taken like a level dip when he was doing like like pretending to be Arsene Greybeard and had the bow staff. 'Cause he wouldn't-
Yeah.
And I guess that with the bow staff, as you're saying, and what Jonathan just said with that, are you trained with the quarter staff, and that's a monk weapon as well?
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's a valid point. Any other suggestions for monks? Who plays
It's a
monk?
hard one.
Who plays a monkey 5e in the way?
I did.
Sorry, Anne. I feel like you're on back. I feel like you're on back.
First edition.
Yeah.
Alright, well our next one was Paladin.
Yeah.
And
Monks are really
Right, which
cool.
they have
I
So
want-
going back to the monks.
Go on. I want to play a monk wizard.
I feel like they would be like, complicated.
No, you can totally take the kung fu aspect out of it. I just wanted a like bar brawler. Now they,
Right.
you know, I just wanted someone. I had the back seat. Like that's not DnD. That's not American Fire at all.
Yeah.
But I just because he had some more action and more movement, which is like just someone that just punched.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like punch a lot, like bar fighting. So who would like do a lot of bar fights?
I mean, we saw
In A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
well the hound.
And maybe. Do we see any bar fights in the books?
At the end, the hounds and Arya.
Yeah.
chases people,
Yeah, at the end of Crossroads.
Yeah, but they still they were using their designates. Like they always
Yeah,
carry
yeah.
their
Yeah,
swords.
The only time you ever
That's
saw like
straight up
a
fight,
bar
just
fight or
ball.
whatever one was when they had to keep getting the mountain people.
I think it would be maybe
Yeah.
more bravos. I think that's why not necessarily faceless men, but like the little like dudes.
The bravos.
The bravos, like.
Yeah. Potentially, yeah. The Kensei
Because
monk.
they're really nimble and move a lot and.
Yeah, the Kensei monk. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like there's weird and drunken.
Drunken master.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's like, yeah.
I actually thought about okay, and she's Yasha,
Yeah.
Greyjoy.
Asher and
Yara
Osha.
could have maybe possibly sort of been like a drunken master monk because she liked to. She
You
had no
know,
problem.
I
fucking
actually,
people up.
I do actually like that because the monks do have missile. They're able to catch missiles
Yeah.
and throw them back
Yeah.
using keepers.
Yeah.
You know, so you think of
Right.
the axe throwing game that the Ironborn have,
Mhm.
and she's very good at that.
Right.
So catching.
And they can have like moon checks, so like I think they can throw knives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
There
like,
could be a knife throwing could be among them.
Mhm.
catching projectiles and throwing it back
Right.
is the axe throwing game, and Ashley is very good at that. Yeah.
Still has one finger.
We got one.
So we did not
got
know
one.
we didn't think about the monks.
What about the Faith Militant and Lancel Lannister? Those guys, they fought back?
Yeah.
I think they did have nunchucks or something, didn't they?
They had some sort of flail, I believe,
Yeah.
in the show, but they tend to have clubs and they don't wear any armor. So, yeah, and
Yeah.
spiritual as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I said, monks are a
Yeah,
spiritual.
they could fit into the monk thing.
Yeah, yeah, potentially.
Even somewhat mechanically.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
I'm happy with
Those
that.
are good. Alright, so paladin, holy cow. We have so many paladins in the freaking medieval times. Like, that was like an easy
Brienne.
one.
So,
One thing about paladins though, I believe 5e says they have to be lawful.
no, not 5e anymore.
Really?
Like previous edition.
In first edition, yes.
You had to be lawful good, so that was where I could have wrapped my
So it was only
brain around.
Brienne.
Yeah.
Right?
half a day.
Well,
Maybe Sir Barristan.
So-
Oh man.
Oh no.
I feel like
Maybe.
up until the end, Ned Stark.
Yeah.
So some of the features of paladins are they swear oaths
Yeah, they
to
do.
their deities to draw power from their deities.
Mhm.
They are a strength and charisma based class.
Mhm.
And so they are the leaders, the voice of the party for a lot of the time. They are almost the diplomats of the party as well because of their charismatic nature. Some of them have like compelled to duel. They have fighting styles. They're very martial. They wear heavy armor.
Wouldn't that be Barrack? Barrack Dondarrion?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
We've got Berrican
Yeah.
as there.
Mhm.
And so, like, mechanically, as the class on a whole, that's what we're kind of looking at. All knights, if you're a knight, you swear oaths.
Right.
You have the holy oils, and you swear your oaths and stuff like that, like we've seen in the recent episode. Spoilers, sorry, if anybody's not seen it.
You came to the wrong place.
Yeah, so parents gets officially knighted. So it's a case of, I think the paladins and knights of this world do line up very well. Obviously, again, it's too easy to do, just like the fighters. It's called all knights paladins.
Right.
But there are lots of different archetypes.
There's subclasses of
Yeah.
paladin even, and some of the ones that we went through. So there's the devotion one and then the crown one that we
Yeah.
found a lot of people fit into. The crown one is someone who has the oath to a sovereignty or to a specific nation. So you see that a lot in the Kingsguard or Queensguard themes. Zombie Mountain is in the show very much has an oath and will not fight for anyone except for Cersei. Stannis Baratheon, prior to Robert dying, was very much a crown paladin because he, did whatever he was told and went wherever he was supposed to and fought for the crown
Yeah.
because he was
Dutiful.
very dutiful. Same with Randall Tarley.
Yeah.
Even he got burned for it in the
Yeah.
show. Yeah.
I feel like Dunk, like from Dunk and Eggs,
Yes.
seems like he gets a lot of power from his vows, I think, and for protecting.
Yeah.
That is
Egg.
very much a paladin aspect, yes.
But I was also sort of thinking he might be a barbarian because like there's definitely like he's like not that good of a
That's
knight
funny.
most of the time.
He does fight with hands
Yeah.
a lot,
But
yes.
he's all like strength check. Like it's all like he like overpowers people and just beats them to death with a shield.
But he's very chivalrous too.
Yeah,
He's
but I mean, he
he's
definitely
very-
has like a turbo mode that he goes into
Yeah.
where it's like when Egg's in trouble, like
He's
he
a
goes
multi-class.
like
He's a
monster.
barbarian
Yeah.
that really wants to be a paladin and not
Yeah.
a barbarian.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, he's so bad at being a paladin,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
just turns back to being
That's
a
great.
barbarian. The Tavern Brawler feat.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so that's the devotion.
Yep.
Again, we've got many others. So we have, no, that was the crown, wasn't it? Devotion, I think we spoke about Brienne of Tarth.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can't get any more kind of
No.
paladin other than Brienne.
Yeah, that's really Well, the devotion paladin is probably the closest to like first edition type.
Yeah.
Lawful good, justice, valor, honor, will not waver from those things. You know, will die to the end. And Bran clearly.
Yeah.
I really think Ned Stark kind of fit into that one.
Mm.
And
He has a lot. He even though he hasn't sworn oaths to, like, in the traditional sense, I guess. His moral compass is very paladin.
yeah, they have a bit like their moral code.
Yeah.
And the spiritualism too.
The Night's Watch, you know, I mean, obviously, so many
Have you been talking to John?
I don't know, I mean, they're
monks.
well, yeah, but they're like, you know, reciting their oaths every time they go
Yeah.
battle and
Yeah.
such, you know, I mean, but that's a little bit.
And again, John brought up this point.
They can fall into monks and paladin. Because historically, the Night's Watch is based on Knights Templar. Knights Templar were monks, so they can be monks too.
Yeah.
Because of their
And then there are other paladins, such as Paladin of Vengeance. Anybody jump to mind?
Oberon.
Oberyn, potentially.
Oh,
Arya.
I mean,
That's the style.
when I think of vengeance, I'm probably thinking more of the Hound, who swore vengeance against his brother, sort of thing. Is he a knight? No. Has he sworn oaths? No. But
like Auburn was very charismatic.
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah, the Hound. Yeah, the Hound for me. The Vengeance Paladin is someone that, like, yes, there's a greater threat, and he'll do anything. It's that pragmatic kind of approach to going and doing it. Like, fuck everything else, I need to deal with it. So, you know, that pragmatic approach more than anything for me for the Hound, but, you know, that would be the army of the one there. Was that all the Paladins? Arthur Dane. I think Arthur Dane is probably one of the most atypical paladins also. Like, the only way you can claim Dawn is by ticking these certain prerequisites of being honourable, chivalrous, devoted, being this ideal knight in shining armour.
I think Benjamin would probably be like a nature paladin kind of, was like, you know.
Oh, for the ancients?
Yeah, I would believe that as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout as well.
We had Benjamin actually in a couple of different places,
Okay.
but yeah, he fit in there too, for sure.
Yeah? Ranger or Rogue next?
Before
Ranger.
you move
Oh,
on,
yes.
it's something like, it depends on what their origin ends up actually being, but it would be interesting to think of the others as Oathbreaker paladins.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it depends on how far George goes into that.
Well, again, like Jamie, we had Jamie as an Oathbreaker paladin also, which, you know, being Kingslayer, breaking these Kingsguard oaths, but yeah.
But they also
But
have a redemption.
I like that as well. Right? Yeah.
But-
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Um,
Any other ones? Oh, we don't want to jump to it. Okay. So yeah, Ranger's the next one, and this worked really well with a lot of people beyond the
Yeah.
wall.
And again, the
And the Night's
description,
Watch.
the description of Rangers is they work in the wilderness on the borders of civilization,
Right.
right, to protect civilization from the threats beyond civilization. And so, again, thematically, the Rangers are obviously the Night's Watch. That's the probably atypical thematic Rangers, although, you know, there's probably Rangers within the Night's Watch. So, if we look at the prologue characters, the three prologue characters, Garrett is probably a ranger of the three. Will is probably a rogue and scout of the three. And then Waymore Royce was the paladin or the fighter of the three. So like you've got the little D&D party going beyond the wall there to scout it out. But that's the roles they fill.
Yeah.
Will is the guy that's good at scouting, that's good at sneaking. So he's actually sent off to go and check out and scout. And then you've got Garrett, who's the experienced guy that's been behind the wall. He knows the land, he knows the wall, he knows the environment.
Ranger.
Like the survival, natural explorer, favoured enemy, of course. And then You've got Wagmar Royce, who's the atypical paladin. I will stand here and challenge you to a duel. Sort of charismatic leader of the party.
Right.
You know, so yeah, that's an example of like how a ranger fits in actually in a party here. But have you got any suggestions for rangers? We've got a few. Blackfish is really good.
Oh wow,
Yeah, because he does a lot of Rob's kind of
yeah.
scouting, planning. You know, he's the brains behind Rob's operation.
Mm-hmm.
Not Rob, Rob.
Four and a half hand.
Yeah.
Corin, yeah, he's perfect. Yeah, you know, favourite enemy, definitely.
The Night's Watch guys, I don't know where Dolores is.
Is he a steward? I've got a feeling he's a steward. I think Grant's builder.
But I mean, I don't know what class he is.
Pip's a steward.
He kind of has like
Oh,
some humor.
Gren's a ranger. The other ranger that we've got is the Beastmaster Ranger, and I think that's Ramsey.
Oh.
The dogs.
Yeah, he has his group of hounds. He uses a bow. Jon Snow.
Yeah.
Again, you know, animal companion, fighter, very martial.
Survival. Yeah.
Yeah, thrives in the wild. Any other suggestions for Beric and Darian?
As Beast Hunter.
The Beast Hunter. Oh, you mean the Blood Hunter?
No, Monster Hunter. Sorry.
Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter, okay.
Monster Slayer.
Monster Slayer, sorry.
Yeah.
Especially now.
In the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, fits pretty well.
The other one.
Any other ranger suggestions? Anything that reminds you of this? Rogue.
Rogue, yeah, because we're running out of time. Oh, so.
This is one where we found probably the most black and white,
I have to read it.
definite character. And we'll let Trin read it because
Okay.
she seems excited.
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, so far I like to read the ones that are just so clear cut in the character's build, really, honestly. So, this particular one, I'm not going to say it out loud because it'll totally give it away, but you focus your training on the grim art of death. Those who adhere to this archetype are diverse, hired killers, spies, bounty hunters, and even especially anointed priests trained to exterminate the enemies of their deity. Stealth, poison, and disguise help you eliminate your foes with deadly efficiency. Right? Arya is the rogue assassin, and they get proficiency with disguise. They actually get, at 13th level, imposter, which means that you can unerringly mimic another person's speech, writing, and behavior. So when we were going through the different characters, I was like, oh, this is so the Faceless Man and Arya and that whole thing. And yeah, there's really just like the mechanics as well as the culture, like we were talking about earlier, just fit perfectly in with the Faceless Men and Arya.
I mean, again, you think about her kills that she's accumulated. The stable boy that come to arrest her definitely was unaware at the time when she stabbed him. But there's a good sneak attack.
That was more accidental.
That was
actually.
1d6. Obviously, he didn't have a lot of hit points.
No, he didn't have a lot
But
of
then
hit
you look at what she does to Polliver, where we won't describe what's happening beforehand. But he's definitely unaware, and she's definitely leveled up since then. And he's a fighter, but you know, when you roll in 20d6, then most likely you're going to one-shot lots of things. In show, you have what she does to. I think it's Polliver in the show, in the crossroads.
Yeah.
He's on the floor.
Yeah.
When you're prone, people get advantage against you. When you get advantage and you're a rogue, you get sneak attack.
Yep.
So, you know,
So it's
another
like-
example.
Extra damage.
She
Did someone else too.
she drops the coin after the red wedding, doesn't
Yes.
she? She sleight of hands
Which
the hound's
would
knife.
be a sneak attack.
Yeah. Sleight of hands the hound's knife. He doesn't know. Drops a coin. He goes to pick it up. Sneak attack.
Mhm.
You know, surprise assassin.
Mhm.
You know, so I think there's no more like the most typical is that one.
Yes, for sure.
We've got like a couple more to do,
Couple more.
hopefully. So another one that we've probably not spoke about yet, and is probably coming up next is Gareth.
Oh yeah, the mastermind. Well, there was a couple of rogues. So when you think about the D&D characters, you you think about a party of people who are going out and everybody's sort of contributing something, and a lot of times there's this stigma that you have to be able to fight. And you don't necessarily have to be able to fight completely, like you do need to contribute to your party, but I found one specific subclass where like all of those other people fit in. Like Sansa, one of my favorite characters. And she actually fits into the Inquisitive rogue, and I can read
So the new classes from Xanathar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guessing so.
Fine.
Yeah.
But they, we got like 5 minutes. Right.
I think we probably got earlier than last, but
Yeah.
we can get this one and then get Varys.
Varys. So Sansa fit in with the Inquisitive one, and Varys fit in with the Mastermind one, and they are really just what they sound like. The Inquisitive one says that you excel at rooting out secrets and dealing, unraveling mysteries. Or this is Sansa show, because obviously Sansa in the book is still
Doing nothing.
not come as far. But she's exposes hidden evils. She can determine true intent of people. And then for the Mastermind with Lord Varys, he focuses on people and influence and the secrets they have. Many spies, courtiers, and schemers follow the archetype. Words are their weapons just as often as knives are poison. And secrets and favors are some of their favorite treasures. So the Mastermind Rogue is very much about what kind of knowledge they can gain and how they can use that. They have, normally rogues aren't really high charisma.
No, they can be.
But they can be, especially in this instance. I feel like that's where their charisma would help.
I think the one thing that really adds towards the rogue is expertise. You know, you
Yes.
don't have to take expertise in stealth or
Right.
sleight of hand. You can take expertise in any of the skills that you choose.
Mhm.
So expertise in persuasion, intimidation, investigation, deception,
Right.
performance. It all helps and aids towards, you know, your skills and increasing that ability to do that.
Very skilled.
And again, like the Mastermind, it's about creating a network of spies. Should we go on to, so
Just the magic-y ones.
yeah, let's say the one character that I think we've got to speak about that we haven't spoken about yet is Dany. Yeah, so I think Dany's quite probably another black and white one in regards to she's got to be a sorcerer, right? And with the draconic bloodline, it fits like perfectly. And if you're going to pick
They
a
literally
race,
have dragon blood.
yeah, if it's going to be a race, then it's going to be like an arc, I guess, like that higher theme sort of thing. So, and one also we've not spoken about is the warlock. So, Anne, who do you think is the warlock?
thing that. Where is it?
Where's Scott? So a couple of suggestions for Melisandre would be for Melisandre to be potentially a shadow sorcerer.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, but at the same time, the argument that I've heard about is the warlock, with the Lord of Light being a patron.
Right. I thought about that too.
Also for Melisandre as well. So that's kind of the argument you would go for. What would you guys go for? Hello, new people, by the way. Right.
I would say the pack magic is probably the closest to George's magical scheme, I think. Like,
Yeah.
All of them
Yeah.
are like either through like fire or ice.
They might need some
or yeah.
Yeah. So, Anne? Are you going with Warlock?
She's in a floor.
Whoever's buying me a drink, really.
Thank you guys very
I don't
much.
have my arguments that important.
No, we have to say the wizards, obviously, at the end. With all of the Maesters of the Citadel, because it's very knowledge-based, book-based. They are
Exploring, studying.
And Sam Charlie, all he wants in life is to be a wizard, so he was our wizard.
Exactly.
So,
And the wizards are the only intelligence-based
Right.
class in D&D, so
And they can
based as being
quite
very
good at
intelligent.
Yeah. So
That was the.
I'm sorry we had to rush at the end of that. Our time is set.
That'd be my fault.
Thank you very
Talking
much.
to you.
Thank you.